There is a reason this message found you right now, and before you scroll away, stay here for a moment because something quiet has already started moving around your name. What was said about you lately was not casual, not random, and not the kind of thing people throw into a room and forget 5 minutes later. A conversation happened when you were not there. No warning, no setup, no sign that your name would suddenly rise in the middle of ordinary talk. It simply appeared, soft and natural, in between simple subjects, and in that instant, someone who has been holding much more inside than they ever show finally opened up. Even they did not expect it. The words were not planned. They came from a guarded place, the part of a person that does not speak easily, the part that hides what matters most. Stay with this, because it builds. At first, everything sounded normal. Light talk, daily life, nothing heavy, nothing emotional. Then one small question changed the whole mood. Someone asked about the people who truly matter, the names that return in silence, the ones that come back late at night when the noise is gone. And that was the exact moment everything shifted. There was a pause, a real one, the kind that says more than speech. Then your name came forward, slowly, not forced, not rushed, almost like it had been waiting for the right second to be spoken. Everyone listening could feel it. This was not just another person being mentioned. This was different. And the strange part was not only that they spoke about you, it was the way their whole voice changed when they did. That is when you know something is real. So stay until the end, because this is only the beginning, and what followed carried more weight than anyone in that room expected. What surprised the people listening most was not what they said about your actions, but what they said about your effect. They tried to explain it with simple words, but some things are bigger than language. They talked about how certain people leave a mark without trying, how a presence can remain even after the person is gone, how someone can slip into the mind without warning and stay there much longer than expected. Listen closely, because this part matters. They admitted that lately even the smallest moments have started bringing you back into their thoughts. A road they pass, a sound they hear, a sentence from someone else, tiny things, normal things, yet somehow each one leads back to you. It was not dramatic. That made it stronger. It was honest, and honesty always lands deeper than performance. They said there is something about you that does not fade easily. Even when they try to focus on other things, something returns. Quietly, steadily. In small private moments, no one else would ever notice. And the person beside them noticed something important too. Every time they spoke about you, their tone softened. They slowed down. They looked away once or twice, like they were searching for words that felt safe enough to say aloud. That kind of shift cannot be faked. It happens when the truth comes too close. Stay here because the strongest moment came when they thought no one was watching carefully anymore. In a calm voice, almost too calm, they admitted they never expected one person to stay on their mind for this long. That single line changed the whole air in the room, not because it sounded grand, because it sounded true. And once truth starts speaking, it usually does not stop at one sentence. So if this already feels personal, hold on, because the next part reveals just how deep this has gone inside them. After that, they started recalling small things tied to you that time never erased. Not loud memories, not huge scenes, small details, the tone in your voice during one moment, the way you responded in a certain situation, the energy you carried without needing to announce it. Those are not the things people remember by accident. People only hold on to details when something inside them decides those details matter. That means something inside them decided you matter, even if they did not fully admit it before. Then someone asked a direct question. Why now? Why are you saying this at this moment? And once again there was silence, deeper this time, because some answers are not hard to give, because they are confusing, but because they are too real. When they finally answered, the whole room listened harder. They said sometimes distance makes hidden thoughts louder. That line did not sound rehearsed, it sounded lived. Distance strips away distraction. Quiet exposes what closeness often covers up. And once that door opened, the conversation moved further than anyone expected. They admitted there were times they almost reached out, times they almost said more, times they almost let the truth step into the light. But each time something stopped them. Not because the feeling was missing, because the timing felt uncertain, because honesty can feel dangerous when it touches something deep. Stay with this part, because it says a lot. They shared that your name has started feeling different in their mind lately. Stronger, clearer, harder to brush aside. People do not say that casually. It usually means something inside them has shifted before they could even explain it to themselves. And if you are still listening, do not leave now, because what came next made it clear this was no passing thought. This was something that had been building quietly for longer than anyone knew. Then they revealed something even more telling. There is one memory connected to you that keeps replaying in their mind. They did not describe all of it, but they did not need to. The way they spoke about it made one thing obvious. That memory is still alive inside them. When a person guards a memory like that, it still carries emotional weight. Someone then asked a simple question. Do you think some people return to our thoughts for a reason? Again, the room went still. Then came a slow answer, careful and soft. Some connections do not disappear, even when life gets busy. That sentence felt less like an opinion and more like a truth they had learned the hard way. They admitted they tried not to think too deeply before, but lately that has become almost impossible. Something keeps coming back. Not loudly, not with drama. Just over and over, without permission, without asking. And then came one of the most surprising parts. They are beginning to wonder if what they once pushed aside deserves attention now. That changed everything. Because the moment someone starts reconsidering what they ignored, something inside them is already waking up. They described you as someone whose impact was understood late, not early. That is rare. Some people are noticed fast and forgotten fast. Others are understood slowly and remembered for a very long time. When they said that, a small smile appeared on their face before they even noticed it. The kind of smile that rises when a memory still feels warm, natural, unforced, real. Stay until the end, because what they said next carried even more meaning. In a voice so low it almost disappeared, they said some people enter your life quietly, but stay louder in your thoughts than many who came in with noise. No one asked them to repeat it. No one had to. Everybody heard it the first time. And everybody knew that line was about you. After those words, they went quiet again, like they had already let out more than they meant to share. Sometimes the deepest truth only comes once, briefly, in one clean moment when the heart gets tired of guarding everything. And what they had shared about you was not empty admiration, it was not surface talk, it was something more honest than that. So understand this clearly. Your name has recently carried weight in places you cannot see. Your presence entered a conversation you were never part of, and what was said was softer, deeper, and more meaningful than anyone expected. But it did not stop there. After a short silence, someone asked why this still matters now, and their answer made everyone pay closer attention. They said lately there has been a feeling they cannot fully explain. Thoughts of you appear without warning, especially in quiet moments. Not once in a while. Repeatedly. Normal things suddenly connect back to you. A sound. A place. A random pause in the day. And every time it happens, something inside them stops for a second. That pause matters. People only pause when something hits deeper than expected. Then they admitted there are things they never said when they had the chance. Not because the words did not exist, but because the timing felt uncertain and the feelings were harder to explain than they looked. Then came another line that changed the room. Sometimes silence protects feelings until those feelings become too strong to ignore. That did not sound imagined. It sounded earned. It meant they had been carrying more than they ever showed on the outside. And when someone asked if they regretted saying less than they felt before, the silence answered first. Then slowly they admitted there are moments they replay and wonder if some things should have been expressed differently. If you are still here, good, because this is where the conversation stopped being ordinary and became impossible to forget. They began describing one detail about you that still stays with them: the calm way you speak when the world expects noise, the way you leave an impression without trying, a presence that does not chase attention, yet receives it anyway. They said that quality is rare, very rare, because many people are seen and then forgotten, but a few are understood slowly and remembered for years. While saying it, they looked away again, like even speaking it aloud felt too revealing. Then came something deeper. They realized not everyone brings peace just by being remembered, but somehow thoughts of you do. That surprised the listener beside them, because nobody says something like that lightly. It has to come from somewhere real. Then they were asked a simple but sharp question. Do you think you know any of this? They smiled very slightly and said no. And maybe that is why it still feels unfinished. That word stayed in the air. Unfinished. It carried more than all the longer sentences before it. Because unfinished things do not die easily. They stay alive in the background. They admitted there are times they almost reach out, then stop themselves. Times when your name appears in thought with no warning. Times when they wonder if some connections remain alive even without words. That is not just memory. That is emotional presence. And emotional presence does not vanish just because time passes. Then they said something that changed the whole meaning of their silence. There is a difference between forgetting someone and staying quiet about them. That line turned everything. Silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence means the feeling has become too meaningful to speak about carelessly. If that hit something in you, stay with me, because the next truth landed even harder. They shared that they first realized this mattered when small reminders kept showing up on their own. No effort, no search. Just moments. A song, a sentence, a place, a still afternoon. And suddenly your presence returned again, not loud but clear enough to be felt. That is where everything stands now, still unfolding in silence, because honesty goes deeper than dramatic words ever can. Near the end of that conversation, just before the room tried to drift back toward normal subjects, they said one of the strongest lines of all. Some people stay important even when life becomes crowded. That sentence needed no explanation. Everyone understood it. Importance that survives distraction is real. Importance that remains after time moves on is rare. When they finished, another silence followed, but this one felt different. Not uncertain, not awkward. It felt like someone had finally let truth breathe. And then came something even more revealing. After speaking openly, they looked lighter, as if saying your name honestly had lifted something heavy off their chest. That matters. It means those thoughts had been waiting for a voice. It means your name has been living in places deeper than normal conversation reaches. And once someone starts speaking from that place, it rarely ends in a single talk. One honest sentence can open a door that has stayed shut for a very long time, and right now, that door may already be opening. What made it more striking was that the conversation did not really end when it seemed to. After a brief pause, they returned to your name again without anyone asking. That alone said everything. When a person circles back after the subject could have passed, the thought was never finished inside them. Stay until the end, because this next part pulled everything deeper. Leaning forward slightly, they spoke more quietly than before, almost as if the next words were not meant for the whole room, yet everyone still heard them. They admitted that recently there has been a growing feeling that something linked to you has remained unfinished in their heart. Even after trying to tell themselves life had moved on, that confession changed the entire mood. Unfinished feelings do not come back unless they still carry meaning. And by now everyone there could feel one thing clearly. This was no small memory, this was something still alive. The strongest part of what they shared came through the details they did not even realize they were giving away. They started talking about how certain memories with you have stayed unusually sharp. Not dramatic scenes, not big turning points, quiet moments, the kind most people would forget. A certain look, a short line, a moment where nothing major happened, yet somehow time could not erase it. That matters, because a heart that feels deeply does not only keep the loud memories, it protects the small ones too. And if those small details are still alive, something deeper has been keeping them safe. They said those memories have returned lately with unexpected clarity, almost like something inside them has been asking them to look again at what they once missed. Someone asked why they think this is happening now. The answer came slowly. Some things only become clear after distance. Simple words, but powerful ones. Distance removes noise. It lets hidden meaning rise. Then came another confession. They said they tried to replace those thoughts with distractions, but every time life became quiet again, the same reflection returned. Your presence had left a deeper mark than they had admitted before. That is not ordinary remembering. That is late emotional recognition, and when it arrives late, it often arrives strong. Then they described you in a way nobody expected. They said your energy remained calm in memory even after life around them became complicated. Not everyone gets remembered like that. Many names fade under pressure, many impressions weaken with time, but yours stayed clear. Clear enough that even now your name carries the same quiet weight it did before. If you are still with this, do not click away, because what came next revealed that thought had already started moving toward action. Someone asked if they had ever nearly sent a message. There was a long pause, obvious enough that no words were needed at first. Then they smiled a little and admitted there had been more than one moment when they almost did, but stopped because they did not know how that honesty would be received. That admission changed the shape of everything, because when thought begins leaning toward action, even if delayed, it means the feeling is no longer sitting still. They explained that the strongest thoughts often come at strange hours. Late nights, quiet mornings, ordinary afternoons when nothing dramatic is happening, and suddenly your name appears again as if it naturally belongs at the center of attention. That startled the listener, who then asked the question nobody expected to hear. Do you think this connection ever truly left? The answer came so softly it almost disappeared. No, I think it only became silent. That one line changed the entire conversation. Silence is not the same as disappearance. Silence often means something has gone deeper, and what moves deeper becomes harder to dismiss. Then came another truth they could not hide. They said they recently heard a small phrase from someone else that instantly reminded them of you, and what shocked them most was how fast the emotion returned. That kind of response cannot be forced. It only happens when something inside still reacts on its own. Then they added a line nobody in that room forgot. Some people leave quietly, but they do not leave empty space. Everyone knew that was about you. Because empty space means absence, but meaningful people leave presence behind, even from far away. And according to what they shared, your presence still exists where they least expected to find it. Then the talk moved toward timing. They said maybe some truths are only understood after enough time has passed for pride, confusion, and fear to become weaker than honesty. That line showed growth. Honesty often arrives when a person gets tired of hiding from what they already know, and what they seem to know now is simple and deep at once. Your impact did not vanish. Your memory did not fade. Your name still carries feeling. Stay here, because the next thing they said sounded less like a statement to others and more like a truth finally admitted to themselves. Before the subject started changing, they looked down for a moment and said some people are remembered because of what happened, while others are remembered because of how they made you feel. That line stayed in the room long after their voice stopped. Everyone there understood it. Events fade, feelings stay. And if your name is tied to feeling instead of memory alone, then something is still alive beneath the surface. But even after all of that, they had one final reflection left, and it may have carried the deepest meaning of the whole conversation. They said there are certain people whose presence becomes clearer only after silence gives enough space to understand them properly. They spoke slowly, carefully, like each word had been weighed before it was allowed out. Then they added something even sharper. Sometimes you only realize the value of a person when ordinary days begin to feel incomplete without the thought of them showing up somewhere unexpectedly. That line shifted everything again. Normal days tell the truth better than emotional moments do. If someone enters your thoughts during plain, average hours, without effort, without invitation, the connection is real. Then they admitted that lately there have been moments when they hear other people speaking, yet their own mind drifts somewhere else completely, and somehow those drifting thoughts keep returning to memories linked to you. Not chosen on purpose, not forced, just sudden flashes. A face remembered, a voice remembered, a feeling remembered. Then someone asked directly, "What is it exactly that stays with you?" For a second they looked unsure, not because they lacked an answer, but because some answers become difficult when they are fully honest. At last they said it is the feeling that something important was never fully understood while it was happening. That sentence carried enormous depth. Sometimes people only understand meaning after time has already walked past it. And when understanding arrives late, it can arrive stronger than ever. So stay with this, because what they said after that made it impossible to call this a simple memory. They admitted there are things they once treated as ordinary that now feel very different in memory. Small moments that looked simple at the time but now seem full of meaning. That is how hidden truth returns, quietly, without warning. And once it returns, every old memory changes shape. Then they said, your name now carries calm and weight at the same time. Not everyone leaves that behind. Some names bring noise. Some names bring distance. A rare few bring stillness and thought together. According to them, yours is one of those names. Then came one of the strongest moments of the night. A listener smiled and asked, if your name appeared in front of you again, what would happen? There was a long pause, longer than before, and then an answer so soft everyone leaned in to hear it. I think I would listen more carefully this time. That changed the meaning of everything. Listening carefully means they believe something important deserves attention now. Attention may be not fully given before. That is not a small shift. That is a deep one. Then they admitted they have started noticing how rare genuine impressions have become in life. Many people pass through conversation, but very few remain after the talk is over. Then came a line nobody forgot. Some people leave a sentence behind inside you, even when they are no longer speaking. That was about you. Everyone could feel it, because impact that survives silence becomes impossible to ignore forever. They went even further and said, maybe some connections are not loud because they were never meant to be obvious right away. Some connections arrive quietly and only later reveal how deeply they settled. No one interrupted after that. No one laughed. The room had gone too still for that. Everyone listening could hear that truth had taken over. And before it all finally ended, they gave one last conclusion, calm and certain. Not every important person arrives with noise. Some become important because they remain impossible to forget. After that, they fell silent. But the silence was no longer confused. It sounded like acceptance, and that is the part you need to understand. Your name did not appear in that conversation by accident. Your presence was not brought up lightly. What they shared came from somewhere deeper than ordinary thought, somewhere that has been holding unfinished meaning, returning memories, and a quiet emotional clarity they could no longer push down. Once truth begins finding its voice, it almost never chooses just one moment to appear. It starts there, then keeps echoing after the room grows quiet again. And the final thing that became undeniable was this. After everything had already been said, after it seemed like the conversation had revealed enough, your person still carried your name in the air like there was more left unsaid. That is what makes this different. This was not passing curiosity. It was not polite nostalgia. It was a real inner movement. The kind people try to hide until hiding it takes more energy than admitting it. So if this message reached you, let it settle. Somewhere, in a place you could not see, your name was spoken with care. Your memory was handled gently. Your impact was felt more deeply than they expected. And what came out of them was not empty talk. It was the sound of someone finally noticing that silence had not erased what they felt. It had only made it clearer. Stay with that. Let it sink in. Because once someone admits even part of what they tried to bury, the story is rarely over. One honest sentence can become many private thoughts later. One quiet confession can open a door that keeps opening long after the conversation ends. So do not dismiss this. Do not rush past it. Something has shifted. Something is still unfolding. And if your name now lives in their thoughts with this much softness, this much weight, this much unfinished meaning, then the silence between you may not be empty at all. It may be holding the next part of the story, waiting for the moment it can no longer stay quiet.